Hello and welcome to this Women in Business Expo. We're live here in the Business Startup Theatre. My name is Simone Roche and I am the founder of Northern Power Women, Northern Power Futures, the Power Platform, Be Heard, and lots of other things, I think, serial entrepreneur. But today I'm here with my Northern Power Women hat on, and I am delighted to be hosting this stellar panel today, both here in the studio and in the land of Zoom. I set Northern Power Women up 6 years ago to accelerate gender equality from the North, and I've been really proud to build this massive community, a really engaged community, a really supportive community, and we've all met each other today in different forms and different guises. And so what I wanted today was to create a session which is called How to Solve a Problem Like Setting Up a Business. And we wanted to be able to give you at the end of sort of 20 minutes those sort of top tips and takeaways that if you're on the verge of thinking, I want to do this, or you're doing it already and you need some help, you're never alone, are you? You're never alone at an event like this. So please do join in the conversation. We'll be around at the end to take your messages as well. So without further ado, I am delighted to be sat here today with these amazing women, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves because they've got more facts than I know every time I chat with them. Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel and I'm the co-founder of Teleport. At Teleport we develop immersive and interactive VR travel experiences for the Oculus Quest headsets.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. Alex.
Hi, yeah, I'm Alex Cousins Consulting, Managing Director, and I go and help people to grow and I help places to grow, business development by trade.
And one of the things that was great is that you two met on a peer mentoring program that we were running last year, and I think it's the ultimate the way about how do we unlock. You always talk about unlock blockages, and yes. How do we sort of help each other and support each other. And if there is ever more than an advocate and a supporter and cheerleader of women and role models, it's my final guest. By last but no means least, the fantastic Sharon Amesu.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Amesu. I am the director of SA Consulting, which is an organisation that supports people with leadership development and diversity and inclusion programs. I'm also co-founder with my daughter of She Leads for Legacy, which is a community promoting the acceleration of Black women into senior leadership and board level positions, along and in partnership with allies.
Wow, that's amazing. And I know, we know Afia very well, don't we? Your daughter who you founded this with, who's, again, another amazing role models. We're obsessed with role models in Northern Power Women world. In this community, we went out and we asked them over the last couple of weeks in advance of today's session, we went and said, what are your concerns? What are your questions about starting up a business? So, in very theatrical style, but of course on brand, Northern Power Women, we've got a series of questions that we wanted to take from our audience to ask our guests today. So, Sharon, can anyone start a business?
That's a really interesting question because on the one hand, I'm excited by entrepreneurialism and I'm excited by in particular, women starting businesses, and we know there's a whole explosion of women entering into the business space. So on the one hand, Simone, I would say absolutely yes, anyone can start a business, but the question is, should everyone start a business? Because can and should are completely different things. I want to see more women starting businesses, but it's really important that when you do start a business, you're well aware of the fact that it is hard work, that it's not the easy option, and sometimes it can be regarded as such. But with the understanding that with the right characteristics and the right set of the right mindset, anyone can start a business. And with the right support, of course, anyone can start a business.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here today, isn't it? To give that support. So let's delve in next. What have we got next? So, how do you know when you can take your idea and launch a business? I'm going to come to you, Mrs. Alex Cousins.
There's a couple of things. I think once you've got an idea, you've got to get the idea out to people. And to do that, you might have to do a video or whatever, a show reel about yourself, because people buy from people. You might have to put a business case together, a business plan together. You have to get a few different stakeholders to understand what your idea and your vision is and do a bit of market testing. So you have to start from that scratchy position. But if you're a scale up, it's easier because you've got a track record and you've got people around you to just go and ask them to do a little bit more for you. If you're a startup, it's a bit harder. And sometimes as well, you need to go and get some investment. So you need to get your idea out there in such a way that people will support you and then try and get some investment to take it further and further and further. And I've got 2 clients who are exactly like that. Now I've got a great client, Me2U, which is a dementia daycare centre. She's already up and running. She's already got one. Dementia is a massive demand area. People are knocking on her doors to go in there. So here, she's ready to go. Another one is High, which is a completely disruptive fintech company. So they've got to do a lot of work to explain what the product is, what the benefits are, and they've done a brilliant job in doing that. And now they've got a pipeline of people, they've got a pipeline of early adopters. So yeah, you've just got to have a few things on your track to get yourself started up, get your idea into fruition and get yourself a first sale.
And I think it is about that storytelling, isn't it? You know, you've just talked about, you know, the brands. You've got to help your own business come to life, but your role about you are supporting those other businesses. And once you've got one story, it gets into another story, and then one cross-pollinates with another, does it? You know, nothing stays in isolation, does it? I think when you're setting up a business.
Yeah, I think the hardest bit is when you first start up, and then it's the first client you want to get, and that in itself is the hardest. And then everything else will just come naturally to your business. It's sort of like snowballs into, you know, something bigger. And so I think the hardest part of that is to get your very first client. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's getting off the starting blocks, isn't it? You know, so back into the bowl of questions. So, you know, what is, and this is for you actually. This came specifically for you from our Northern Power Women audience, Rachel, which was, what has your experience been like as a migrant founder, and what are some of the barriers that you faced, and how did you overcome them? Because we love the overcoming, don't we? You know, we can.
Yes, we can. Thank you, Simone, and that's a very specific question. So I am a migrant founder. I'm originally from Malaysia, and I'm here on a startup visa. And there are loads of obstacles that I had to go through. Obviously, the first one was to actually apply for a visa, and that in itself, it was very stressful. I had to think about, am I going to be able to, you know, stay in the country and continue working on my business? If I don't have a visa, I have to go home, obviously. But how I overcame that was to surround myself with allies, and so I found a community from Lancaster University, which is where I'm from, and there was an amazing startup scene at the university. There was a really strong enterprise team, and they really helped support me and my business. And I just found myself surrounding myself with people with, you know, like-minded visions and people who are just really, really motivated to make it in the world. And of course, also surrounding myself with strong women like the Northern Power Women Network as well. Shout out. And it's really about building that network and building that support system that you really need, especially as a migrant founder. So yeah, I think definitely find people that are allies and surround yourself with them, because at the end of the day, we push each other up and we lift each other. So that's
there's the power, isn't it, of rising up. And I can't sort of go on to the next question with having used the word ally without going to Sharon. You know, Sharon, this is a word. This is in your vocabulary every minute of every day, isn't it? Advocacy, intentional allyship.
Absolutely, Simone, and you know how much I regard you as an ally, certainly to the work that we are doing. And in all honesty, it's something that we have recognized, that if you want to advance, progress, break down barriers, overcome challenges, then what you're going to do is need to tap into those people who be like-minded, those people who have the opportunities, who have the influence to come alongside you as allies and champion your cause. And so most definitely, as Natalie has said, having allies in your corner is invaluable to your success.
I think it is, and I think you can never underestimate that, and I think we've seen that through the peer mentoring programme, some of the magic that happened over that. There's a whole other story about a goat farmer and an environmentalist eating goat-related paper, but maybe we'll do a follow-up of that.
And goat yoga as well.
And goat yoga, but yeah, you're all intrigued now, aren't you? Crockshaw Farm, check that out. But I think there's just so many amazing stories that can come from this, and it's how you help each other thrive, and like Rachel says, it's that lifting each other up as well. So, but how do you, I know there's a lot of talk at the moment around the levelling up agenda, you know, and it can be a bit confusing. What does it actually mean? But how do you actually grow a business whilst trying to level up at the same time? And Alex, your history through public sector, private sector, you know, big corporates, now an entrepreneur, how do you now start this new business whilst levelling up at the same time?
Yeah, it's on a different scale. So, you know, I'm a small business now and not working for a corporate, but I still have an impact. You know, anyone who I employ, anyone I give a leg up to, I just make sure we've got diversity there. Because for levelling up for me is about social mobility, and it's about levelling up for gender and race. You know, it's not about geographies, to be honest. That's not really what I'm about. And so whatever I can do, I'll make sure I've got diversity in my supply chain, who I work with, my freelancers. Some of the jobs I do now, they're too big for me, but I'll bring in my allies and we'll work together. But levelling up last year, I thought the levelling up report that we put together with the Northern Power Women, we asked for more seats at the table. And that's so that we got influence, so that we can make the policy decisions and we can make the laws and change the laws to suit what we want to suit for levelling up. And I'm really particularly pleased that in the last year, so many of our community have actually got onto boards now. I'm on a board myself, we've got on board, so our voices are getting heard, and that's what levelling up for me is all about, really. And even as a small business, you can still level up.
And I think that wider representation, you know, we're covering a lot of bases here today, and really appreciate all of the Northern Power Women and wider community from sending in their questions. But I've got, you know, another sort of specific question for you, Sharon, which is, you know, what are the challenges that Black-owned businesses faced when starting up? You know, with the big call out in the Levelling Up report, which Alex talked about, was, you know, the lack of investment in female-led and Black-owned businesses. You know, what are the challenges and what can we do?
Absolutely. It's a really interesting question. Thanks for that question. There are real challenges which are very much unique and peculiar to Black-owned, Black-led businesses in the UK. And they surround really the following. So they've got institutional barriers. I describe it as your perception barriers and your influencing barriers. So starting off with your institutional, one of the key things we know to be able to grow your business is access to finance and access to investment, whether that be from banking institutions or other financial institutions. And what the research points to is the fact that accessing that finance and accessing that support is more difficult for Black-owned, Black-led businesses than of our white counterparts. And that poses a challenge because it means that so many Black-led businesses are self-financed, and that impacts ultimately the extent to which you're able to scale up, are you able to take on new staff, are you able to grow the business? And therefore, by extension, how big those businesses can become is impaired, it's impacted. You also have a challenge around influence. So one of the key things with building a successful business is your network. Who do you know? Who are you connected with? And the narrower your network, the less likely that you'll be able to grow your business and increase your impact. And so the influence factor is a huge issue here. And then there's something around perception, and something that we've talked about a lot, Simone, is see me, be me, and the importance, as you have said, of role models. So there is the impact of not having people in levels of senior leadership in larger owned businesses and being able to be inspired by those. The absence of that has an impact on the extent to which others feel as though they can step into the arena. And so it really does behove institutions to look at how they can better support, whether that be in relation to finance or connectivity, and building those networks and strengthening those arms so that Black-owned businesses can be a part of that levelling up agenda.
100%. And you know, the power of networks. Networking used to be a dirty word, didn't it? With, you know, your sort of the passing and handing out business cards at every given event. Now it's QR codes anyway, isn't it? But you know, but I think it's the power of that network. We're here today in the amazing MSP Global Studios here, and there's fantastic environment enabling this conversation to happen. Yeah. This came about because when I set my business up 6 and a bit years ago, the great Colin and Lisa, the directors of this organisation, gave me office space. I was a very untidy tenant, but you know, but they gave me the space, the support, and the gift of time to actually thrive and grow. And I think it's the importance of that. And we always talk about everybody can do something for someone else. Yeah. And you know, I always, you know, I know. Last year, in the wake of the murder of George Floyd, Sharon and I spoke quite heavily, and I'm like, what can I do? What can I do? How can we've all got an influence, we've all got a power, and what can we do for good? And Sharon, what were your words? What did you tell me to do?
Be intentional.
And
and you have been. You were straight to action. I think it comes back to our point, Simone, about allies, and everyone has some level of agency, some level of influence or power that if they exact that and if they use that with intention, they can make a difference in their corner of the world. And that's what you did. You set straight forth into setting about the peer networks and the round tables and having collective conversations about the difference that could be made in this space. And I was just deeply inspired by the work that you did.
But I think this is the tips that we're talking about today transition, don't they, from whether you're setting a small business up, a network, or it's your side hustle. So whatever it is you're thinking about there, don't do it alone. Don't be alone in this. So when I'm conscious we're running drastically out of time, and you know we talked about funding. How did you find funding, Rachel? Because you had to pivot, didn't you, during the last 18 months of the pandemic?
Yeah. So what supported me a lot was my university. I keep going back to them, about Lancaster University. They're awesome. And the pitch club that they have, they run pitch clubs now and again, and I was able to pitch for some funding to help kickstart my business. But also, personally, I had to hustle. I had to find other jobs just to, you know, put food on the table. And I actually had to start a second business. I sell handmade stuff during the pandemic just to get some income in and to continue hustling on my main business, Teleport. So it's all about being creative and being not afraid of hard work. Like Sharon said, being an entrepreneur is not always, you know, parties and glam and all that. It's a lot of hard work, and if you're willing to put hard work into it, you will see the difference it makes to your company, to your business. And I think that's one message I want to tell everyone is to before you start a business, to really think about it and prepared to put hard work into it.
Yeah. Definitely.
And is it ever too late to start a business? I'm not looking at you on purpose, Alex Cousins.
Obviously it isn't. No, so yeah, having worked salaried for the last 30 years, here I am now. Made redundant during the pandemic, like a lot of people were, but I set up my business in consulting, doing what I've been doing all my life, business development, helping people grow, helping businesses grow, innovating, etc. So it isn't too late to start. You've got a lot of experience. You've got a great network. You've built up a great network at this age, sort of thing. And that really put me in great stead, because my old colleagues got in touch with me and straight away gave me pieces of work which just gave me confidence that I could do this. My new network that I'd expanded through the Northern Power Women, all of those got around me as well, wrapped their arms around me, said, oh, could you do a couple of days here, a couple of days there? And then from there, the business has just grown. And I've got more people who don't know me now who are asking me to do work because of my network of Northern Power Women than I have from old colleagues, or equal 50-50. And that's amazing. So being a bit older, you have got a network to wrap around you. It is a bit scary though, being a bit older, because you're already used to the mortgage, the bills, you've got your trappings of life, and you think, oh my gosh, I've got to try and earn that money. How am I going to try and earn that money? You're not getting salaried, you're working from month to month, quarter to quarter, year to year, and you know, you do have a few sleepless nights, but I'm really enjoying it. So if anyone, a lot of people over 50 have been affected by the pandemic, one of the big groups that have, go for it, you know, be your own boss.
And what are the 3 top qualities to be a successful business owner, Sharon?
Oh, do you know what? It's a really useful segue, I think, right from what Alex has shared, because if there's one thing about the life of the business owner and the entrepreneur, it's your ability to deal with uncertainty and to be able to navigate that, because you don't have the predictability of the salary coming in each month, or knowing where the next bank is coming from, and so on. But it's a life that's incredibly exhilarating and exciting. And so I would say one of the qualities that I would say you'd have to have is a real sense of grit and determination, because things don't happen overnight. You really have to have this sense that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel if you keep on going and you keep on persevering, like Natalie was talking about earlier on, when things weren't going necessarily according to plan, still finding that resolve within you to keep going. And that ties into my next characteristic, which I'd say is resilience, the ability to bounce back after setback, because there will be setbacks, there will be some no's, there will be some times when you knock on the door and unfortunately there's no one answering that door to support you. So really having that sense of resilience and the wherewithal to come back despite not getting through the first time. And the final one I think is a key one, is influencing skills. They often say that when you're starting your own business, you become everything. You have every role in your business. And one of those roles is sales. You have to be able to sell yourself and sell your idea and sell your product. You have to be able to secure buy-in and get people to win people over and build networks, personal and professional networks. And so I would say really strong influencing skills is essential to build a successful business.
I love that. I can feel that's a whole series coming on there, actually. I think everyone could take it. And final question to you, what would be the advice that you would give to someone younger thinking of starting their business?
Just do it, I think. Because, hey, you're young, you have the opportunity to try things out, and even if you fail, it's still a great lesson. You learn something along the way. Even if you fail, even if you make it, that's great. But the most important thing is to have the courage and the motivation to get started in the first place. The first step is often the hardest. And that's what I would say to someone young, think of doing a business, just do it.
Well
What's the worst that can come out from it?
Just do it. Listen,
Just do it.
If you're thinking about starting a business out there, or you're already in a business and a bit lost, not sure what the pandemic's brought you, or you're growing too fast, you can't really keep on, ask for help. Ask for help. We talked about the Northern Power Women. Thank you for being great allies and advocates, all of you. But actually, it's the cross-fertilisation of all the networks.
Yeah.
You know, the conversations that we're having globally, nationally. Join together. Don't be monogamous in your relationships. Bring them together, because that's how we help each other. Did that sound really wrong? But anyway, I really thank all of you. I thank my amazing panel today. I thank all of you. If you've got any questions, please pop them in the chat, just like that. And please get in touch with us on social media, at North Power Women on Twitter and at Northern Power Women on all the other mediums. We would love to hear from you and we'd love to connect you. So thank you all and enjoy the rest of this amazing conference.